Good evening, friends. Hope you all are doing good. So, friends, this is the last chapter of 9th standard NCERT, that is population. So, every NCERT till the time we have seen the same population, either human resource or population chapter comes at the end of the NCERT. So, similarly, 9th standard NCERT also have the chapter on population. So, same things have been written at some extent, but new things are also been given in this chapter. So let us understand this chapter one by one. So friends, when we say population, we know three important structures that last time we have seen, that three important determinants of the population: birth, death and migration. Okay, always remember any NCERT, whatever higher or lower level you will go, either these birth rate, death rate and migration, BDM, will always three will be the main determinant of the population. So, friends, when we are talking about this population, in this chapter, we are going to see the three important determinants of the population, or the entire chapter is organized around these three things. First is population size and its distribution. Okay, size means what is the total number of people, which area they are living, why in particular area they are more, why in particular area they are less. Then next, you have a population growth and the process of population change. Okay, so the again here birth, death and migration, three things will come over here in terms of growth and population change. Then what are the characteristics of your population? Definitely the characteristics of the population of India and Pakistan are not same. Characteristics of the population of India and Japan are not same. So definitely characteristics of the population in terms of age, sex, composition, literacy rate, economic status, health conditions are different, and this chapter is briefly talking about all these three things. Okay, so let us see these three things one by one. So first is a and we are going to see almost all the characteristic in terms of India. So let us understand the first thing about population distribution and its size. So when we are calling as the size of the population of India, so we know that 2011 census talks about there are 1.21 billion or 121 crore people are there in case of India. So you can see our land is just 3.28 million and we have 1.2 billion people in case of India. So 17% of the world's population is just occupying the 2.44% of the land. So you can see this is such a huge inequality or disparity between the total number of population and the amount of land. So here, because of this less amount of land and more population, density of the population is very high in case of India. Okay, so we have 29 states as of now, and out of them, Uttar Pradesh is one of the biggest state. Population wise, it is one of the biggest states. So total population of the Uttar Pradesh is almost 20 crore. It is touching almost 20 crore, or by the time it has passed 20 crore. So it is most populous state in the India. Getting it? So we can see almost 50% to 60% of the population of India is just occupying the five states. The one of biggest state is Uttar Pradesh, 20 crore. Then Maharashtra, another 12 to 15 crore. Then Bihar, then West Bengal, and then Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so these are the five states where the 50% of the population is being accumulated. Area wise, if you see, the biggest state is in terms of area is Rajasthan, but only 5.5% of the total population of India is present in the Rajasthan. So as we know, Rajasthan is completely unfertile state. Okay, almost half of the state is occupied by the sand, desert, and sand dunes and all. So here, people are living very distant manner or very sparsely. The population habitations are located. So that is why overall farming can be done very less, and sources of survival are very less. That's why Rajasthan, though area wise it is one of the biggest states, but the population is just 5% of the total population of India. Now friends, when we are talking about this population occupying the different parts of the country, okay, let us understand the India's population density and the distribution of the population as per the density. Now in this diagram you can see, okay, somewhere you will see very dark red color, somewhere you will see very faint red color, and in between colors you will see, and somewhere you will see green colors. So very dark colors states are the state which has a one of the highest populations. Then lesser darker colors you have a less population, and green color where population density is very less. So mostly hilly states like Jammu and Kashmir, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Tripura, Manipur, they have very less population density because of the rugged terrain. Okay, so here this population by the density provides one clear picture that how much amount of population is occupying how much area. Getting it? So the highest population you can see the and lowest population that you can see. So Bihar you can see they have the highest population. So highest population density according to the census, more than 1,100 people are occupying per square kilometer in Bihar. Whereas the lowest population density is Arunachal Pradesh. It's almost 16 to 17 people occupying the 1 square kilometer area. Getting this? So if you see the population density of the India, so we have very high population density. Okay, but India, there are only two countries in the world which has a higher population density than India. They are Bangladesh and Japan. So this data is very much important from prelim point of view. This question can directly come as it is in our preliminary examination. Now, when we are talking about population distribution, let us see what is the reason behind the density of different density in the different states. Now, in this diagram, you can see, okay, so there are states with a density of more than 250 people in the area. Getting it? So more than 250 people in the area. So you can see this Uttar Pradesh is there and Bihar is there. So some Andhra Pradesh is there. So here Delhi, Punjab is there. Okay. So why there are some states which has a very high density? Why there are states which has very low density? So there are certain states with low density. Like here you have Arunachal Pradesh, you have Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, you have northeastern states. So what is the reason? Okay, so there are certain reasons. So for example, in the hilly regions, rugged terrain, okay, also hilly terrain, then unfavorable climatic conditions like in Rajasthan, then rocky nature of the terrain like again in the mountains of the Purvanchal, then moderate or low rainfall like in the Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, okay, very low rainfall, then less fertile soil. So these are, and less economic opportunities. So economic opportunities also play very important role. So these are the reasons because of which there is a population which is below even 250% per square kilometer. So this is the reason of the lesser density of the population in this area. Now, what is the reason for the higher density of the population in the particular area? Okay, so definitely fertility of the land is very high. For example, Uttar Pradesh. So entire Ganga plain, you can see very high population is there in this region. Ganga Brahmaputra region, even in the Assam, very high population. West Bengal, very high population. So the reason is that plains are available. So terrain is not hilly or rugged. So people can walk and do their work very easily. It is very easy to construct the houses. It is very easy to build the houses. Also, it is very fertile land. So because Ganga Plain, one of the world's most fertile land, so you can grow anywhere. So farming business can sustain, and based on the farming, different activities can take place. So that's why fertile soil. So it gives rise to the larger economic possibilities. Abundant rainfall. Along with the fertile soil, you have abundant rainfall. So definitely for crops you require rainfall. Primary, secondary or tertiary, whatever economic activities you have, without water they cannot sustain. So abundant rainfall is the third reason why these regions have more than 250 people per square kilometer. Okay. So these are the various reasons for the higher population or lower population in the particular area. Now, when we are talking about the population, the population of the country comes from the census. So without census, we cannot do the population. So so in case of India, who conducts the census? So everybody knows this person. He is our minister, Amit Shah, Home Minister. So Home Ministry, under the Home Ministry, there is Office of Registrar General of General and Census Commissioner of India comes. So this Home Ministry and Office of Registrar General of Home Census Commissioner, they conduct the census after every 10 years. Getting it? But actually, the practice of conducting a census has started even before the independence during the time of Britishers. So almost 1817, first census took place. Then taking the census discontinued. Okay. Then 1881, second census took place, and after that, decadal census started taking place. So from 1881, regularly we are taking the census, and Home Ministry, Registrar General of Census Commissioner is taking this census every decade. So this census of India is one of the most comprehensive document in terms of getting the employment, economic, total number of people, age, sex ratio, everything is given in this census. So it is one of the very comprehensive document. Okay. Now, now we are talking about the population. Let us understand what are the determinants of the population. So as we have seen, there are three determinants of the population: growth as well as population change. Okay. So which are these three determinants? So birth, death, and migration. These are the three determinants which will either they are responsible for the growth of the population or they are responsible for the change of the population. Migration does not lead to the growth of the population. Migration leads to change of the population. Yes, but for particular area, they can result into the growth of the population if too many people went from one region to another region. Okay. Now let us understand the population growth first. So what do we mean by population growth? Population growth means a number of increase in the individual compared to previous year. Getting it? So whatever individuals are there 1 year back, now you are calculating again the next year how many individuals are there, and the difference between them you are calculating it as a population growth. So you can calculate it as a growth rate, you can calculate in terms of number of people, the actual growth. Okay. So this is a change in the number of individual. Okay. So here there are either population can increase or population can decrease. Population somewhere they calculate yearly, somewhere they calculate decadely. So if you are calculating the absolute increase, okay, means total number of people, actual number of increase or decrease, you are calculating per year or per decade, it is called as magnitude of increase. Getting it? So it can be calculated yearly or decadal wise. So how you will calculate? So decadal wise is calculated in case of India, that is absolute increase or magnitude of increase. So for example, of 2000 we had only 100 crore people. Now 2001 to 2011 you had a 121 crore people. So here the absolute increase or magnitude of increase is 21 crore. Okay. So here in this way we are calculating this magnitude of increase. So what happened in case of India, there are certain characteristics, like there was a rapid increase in the population from 1981 okay, so sorry, from 1951 to 1981 there was rapid increase in the population. So almost 300 million people increased suddenly from 51 to 81. Okay. So after 81 the characteristics of the demography is such that till 81 it increased very high. So there was a sudden burst in the population. Okay. Then after 81 it started slowly declining. Okay. So what happened here? Birth rate started declining since 81. This is the reason why population started declining. Okay. Now birth rate is slowly declining. Okay. And it is said that by next 25 years we will overtake the Chinese population. So it is said, it is one of the theories, but we never know. You know, right now pandemic is going on. Suddenly certain pandemic comes and entire world population, you know, may wipe out, like Spanish flu or bubonic plague. You never know, whatever it is. Okay. This is a very no, right now this pandemic is not as dangerous, these two pandemics. Okay. So in theory we are saying that by 2045 we will overtake the population of China. Okay. Now let us understand this process of population change or growth. In the process we are seeing these three things: birth rate, death rate, as well as migration. So birth rate, we know number of people getting born per 1,000 people. per thousand. Death rate means number of people dying per thousand population. Okay. So the main cause why till it from 1953 to 1981, why there was sudden outburst in the population is was because of declining death rates. Okay, so here till 1980s, high birth rate and declining death rates led to the increase or sudden burst in the population. Then what happened after 1981? Birth rate started declining and death rate was also declining. So birth rate till 1981, birth rate and death rate. Okay, birth rate was very high, death rate started declining. But 1981, both of them started declining. So that's why overall population started slowly declining. Gradual decline started since 1981. We are all born after 1981. Okay, so definitely we should remember this. Okay, population started declining after 1981 because of the declining in both death rate and birth rate. Okay, so third parameter of population or change in the population or growth in the population is nothing but a migration. So migration is just people going from one area to another area in search of opportunities like employment or because of certain disasters like you have a war going on or you have earthquakes or there is no drought is there or sudden flood is there. So people will migrate from one area to another area. Okay. So migration leads to change in the population size and population composition as well. So this is very important. It is not just changing in the population size, it is changing the sex ratio of the population. As you know that when farmers from the rural region migrate to the cities, their wives, their children remain behind. So the sex ratio of the village changes. More women and girls are there in the villages compared to men. So in this way, migration can cause change in the size of the population and change in the sex ratio. But migration itself is not responsible for the growth in the population. Getting it? Okay. So migration can be two types: internal migration and external migration or international migration. International migration can add to the growth in the population of that country, but overall population of the humanity will remain the same. So if internal migration is there, population growth will not happen, but population change will happen. If international migration is there, both population growth and population change can happen in the country where migration is happening. Getting it? Okay. So here this is very important to understand. Okay, internal and external migration. So in case of India, internal migration is very dominant. Internal migration, people are migrating from rural to urban areas. So why they are migrating from rural to urban areas? So in rural areas, they don't have job, they don't have educational opportunities, they don't have good health services over there. Okay, so this is called as a push factor. So these factors are pushing the people to the cities. Getting it? And cities, they have very good facility for the education, very good livelihood opportunity, very good employment opportunity. So city has a pull factors. So that's why people are moving from villages to cities. So that's why you can see the urban areas are growing slowly. So from 17% from 1950s to 31% in 2011. So almost a double, we can say near about double. This has been significant rise. Okay, so this is very important in terms of migration. It adds a very much the change in the demography of the city or the rural area. Now let us understand the age distribution of the population. Okay, so age distribution or age composition. So age composition, through age composition and distribution, we can understand how many children are there, how many economically productive people are there, how many aged people are there, how many people are. This further we can use this data for further usage in the making the policies. So age distribution is very important. So generally there are three segments we make in terms of age distribution: 0 to 14 for the children. Okay, so you can see there are 30% children. Okay, they are completely dependent upon the adults. Then you have 15 to 15 to 59 years. Okay, so this you can see that this is one of the productive population, 15 to 69, 59, 65%, almost 65%. And then aged population or retired population above 59 years, so we have only 5% of these people. Okay, so age distribution in India is like this. Okay, so generally it is categorized into the three sectors: children. So you come to know that these many people will require food, they require high nutrition, they require medical care, they require attention. Then working age till 59 years. Okay, they are very very reproductive, and they have biologically active and economically active. So entire pressure of children as well as most of the elders is on their shoulder. And then you have above 59 years, so they are retired, they might be working, they might not be working. Okay, so in this way there is a distribution of age in case of India. Now when we are talking about the distribution of age, understanding the sex ratio is very very important. So let us understand the sex ratio of the Indian population. So here in this graph you can see the sex ratio since 1961. So 1961 it was 941 women behind the 1000 men. Then 71 it dropped, it became 930. Then again 81 increased 934. 91 again decreased 927. Again 2001 it increased to 933, and again it increased to 2011 943. So you can see from 1991 sex ratio of the population is increasing. Okay, but children's sex ratio between 0 to 6 is continuously declining. So overall sex ratio is increasing, but child sex ratio, you can see this blue color graph shows that child sex ratio is decreasing continuously from 960 to 919 in 2011. Okay, so this is very very important to understand. Sex ratio wise, India always didn't fare well. Okay, there are always women are always very very less in certain parts of the India like Delhi and Haryana. They are below 800, sorry, below 900, like 870, 850, 840, like that. Okay, but there are certain states who are doing very good. So Kerala, you can see the population of female is more than the males. They have 184 females per 1000 males. As well as Puducherry, we have 1038 females behind 1000 males. So from prelim point of view, it is very very important. As well as this data you can mention in your mains answer writing as well. Okay, so this gender wise, population and sex ratio wise, it is very very important that we should remember for the prelims as well as mains. Now friends, I hope you are understanding this very important from prelims as well as mains point of view. Now after seeing these three compositions, another determinant of the population or characteristics of the population is a literacy rate. Literate population is always a demographic dividend. They can do skilled work. Okay, they are economically very very productive. So literacy in 2011 census has been determined as those people above age 7 and above age 7 who can read, who can write, who can understand in any language. So reading, writing and understanding in any language is the keywords that you should remember while remembering the definition of the literacy. So literacy is, in case of India, is increasing since our independence. 2011 it was 73%, very high literacy rate. Okay, men are more literate than the women. Literacy rate is more in men, 80%, and this is 64%. So very high inequality in terms of education. Okay, so equality is not there in terms of education. So that's why this is one of the concerns why there is a lack of parity and equality between men and women in case of India. Okay, it needs to be improved. So government is taking so many initiatives like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, Sabla scheme and so many other schemes, getting it. So this is one of the important determinant characteristics of the Indian population. Now let us understand the occupational structure. Another characteristic is the occupational structure. Occupation means what? We have seen the industries. We have primary industries, we have secondary industries, we have tertiary industries. So occupational structure means what percentage of the people are there in these industries or these activities. So what amount of people are in the primary activities or what amount of people are in the tertiary activities. This determines the occupation structure of the particular country. So generally developing countries have more people in the primary sector and little bit of people in the secondary sector and very less people in the tertiary sector. Developed people have more Developed countries have more people in the secondary and tertiary sector activities and very less people in the primary sector activities. So these things are very, very important. In case of India, we have 64% people in the agriculture. So very high quantity people are there in the case of agriculture. So secondary and tertiary activities, we have very less people, just 13% people and 20% people we have in the secondary and the tertiary activities in terms of occupational structure of the India. So slowly, the number of people in the tertiary activities because of the IT services is increasing, and it is very easy to shift from primary to tertiary sector, but it is very, very difficult to shift from primary to secondary sector because secondary sector requires manufacturing activities, it requires industries to be built, it requires facilities for the manufacturing, getting it, and very skilled people. Even to train these people, we need special facilities. But tertiary sector, these investment required is very less, and teaching, we can say the education is also very easy. It does not only colleges are sufficed, okay, and does not require very high-fi facilities. Only computers are mainly companies like IT computers are enough. Getting it. So this is the occupational structure of India. Now, let us understand after the occupational structure, next point here comes is a health. So you are understanding we are seeing the different characteristics of the people. Without good health, country cannot sustain or a population cannot be productive. It cannot be demographic dividend. So in case of India, okay, health means what? Health means death rate. Health means how many people are surviving till the age of 60, 70 at least. So life expectancy is there. Okay. Then whatever amount of calories which are required for the people, are they getting this much amount of calories? That we have to see. They are getting safe drinking water, they are having good sanitization facilities. This comes under the health. So as we know that death rate has reduced from 25 per thousand population to 7.2%, 7.2 per thousand in 2011. So huge decline in the death rate has happened. Simultaneously, life expectancy has increased. During independence, just 36 year people used to live only till 36 years, average people, and now 2012 it has gone up to 67 years. So the health or life expectancy of the people, health has been improved. People living till 67, 70 has been improved. But what about per capita calorie consumption? So whatever per capita calorie consumption, 2000 kilocalories, 3000 kilocalories or 1500 kilocalories, whatever is required, that is not still sufficient in case of India. So many people are below poverty line, and those who are above poverty line still they are not able to satisfy their per capita calorie intake. Okay, so this is one of the biggest concern for the India, per capita calorie intake. Also, in terms of safe drinking water and sanitization, almost one third of the people don't have proper safe drinking water and basic facilities of the sanitization, like toilets are not there. Okay, there is no separate toilets for girls and boys in so many places, men and women for so many places. So health condition. Now pandemic is going on. You can see that our health infrastructure is not sufficient to handle this pandemic. Getting it? We are making makeshift hospitals placed at various places compared to developed countries like America, Italy. Getting it? So health needs lots of investment. Health facilities needs to be improved. Okay. So this is what is the current lesson from the current pandemic. Okay. Now, one of the important criteria for the population is what type of adolescent population you have, what is their health condition, what is their educational characteristics, what is the sex ratio. Very, very important, because adolescents are the future of any country. Getting it? Children are not immediate future. Elderlies, they are past. The immediate future is your adolescent. Adolescent means people from 10 to 19 years. So you need to pay a specific attention in terms of their health, in terms of their education, in terms of their nutrition. Getting it? So we require this in a particular amount. Nutritional requirement should be in the particular amount. So here, adolescent population, here you can see that nutritional deficiency and stunted growth can lead to the severe damage in the adolescent population. So in case of India, girls suffer from this nutritional deficiency. Because of this, they are having lots of anemia. So in India, women suffer from a huge amount of anemia. Getting it? So improving the women's health is very, very important in case of India. So adolescent population is one of the biggest focus. They are accounting 1/5 of the total population of the India. Okay. So let us understand now national population policy. Now, national population policy, any policy, what does it does? It gives a framework for setting the laws. It gives a framework, or it gives a direction for the state, districts, and even to the gram panchayats. Okay. So we have National Population Policy 2000. It was made in the 2000. So uh, before making this national population policy, we had certain programs like family planning program since 1952, even 1970s during the time of emergency. Family planning was one of the biggest program which was undertaken by the government of India. Okay, so here national population policy looks at the population dynamically in terms of how many children are there, how many adolescents are there, how many working age people are there, how many elderly people are there. So they have given framework for all these people. So like compulsory education or free education till the age of 14. This is a part of this framework. Reducing the mortality rate, okay, below 30, okay, that has already been achieved. Achieving the universal immunization of the children, okay, promoting the delayed marriage for the girls, making the family welfare a people centered program. So these are the important characteristics of the national population policy. So the final aim of the national population policy is to stabilize the population, but in the healthy manner, not in the unhealthy manner like a China. One child population now, one child policy now, their population is aging slowly. So it should not happen like that. We should have a healthy population. Getting it? So that's why they have set up certain targets in the national population policies. National population policy gives specific emphasis on adolescents. They look at adolescents as the immediate future of the India. So apart from their nutritional and their physical needs, it also talks about their sexual needs. They needs to be educated in the sexual educations. They need to be provided the sexual education. Their marriage needs to be delayed. Their childbearing should be delayed. Okay, then they should be provided food supplements. They should be providing the nutritional services and legal measures to prevent child marriages. At many places you see that children are being married. So what it leads? It leads to unhealthy mental development. It leads to sometimes stillborn children. It leads to unhealthy population. It leads to increase in the population. So we have to avoid this. We have to stabilize this. So that's why you have to educate them on STDs. You have to educate them on contraception. You should educate them on childbearing, and also you should prevent the child marriages by giving the proper legal support. So these are the features of the national population policy of 2000. So this is all about the population chapter. This is very, very important from prelim and mains point of view. Hope you guys have understood this. If you have any doubt, please ask me on the Telegram. Let us understand the MCQs on this chapter. So migration changes the number distribution and composition of the population in the area of departure, both the areas, area of arrival, none of the above. Both the areas definitely. C is the option. A large proportion of children in a population is result of high birth rate, high high death rate, high life expectancies, more married couples. Definitely high birth rate. The magnitude of population growth refers to total population of an area, number of person added each year. Yes, we have seen this definition. Either number of people added per year or number of people added per 10 years. That is a magnitude of population that we see. According to census, literate person is one who is a literate 7 years and above who can read and write. So can read and write. Okay, I think it will be C. Okay, C is hidden behind my screen. So I think C is the option where people are 7 year or more. They can read, write, and understand any language. You are calling them as a literate. So friends, I hope you have understood this chapter. Now from tomorrow onwards, we are going to start with the 10th standard NCRT. Okay, so be prepared for that. So thank you. And once again, if you have any doubt, please let me know. You are writing very good answers. Keep on writing, keep on improving. We will learn many methods to write the answers, but currently you guys are doing good. Okay, so keep on doing this. Thank you. See you.